The great council chamber of Velkari stretched like a crystal cathedral beneath 3 purple suns. Princess Zarathul stood in the center, her violet skin glowing with anger. Around her, 12 crystal thrones held the most powerful beings in the galaxy, the High Council of Velkari. Her father, Emperor Velthak, sat on the highest throne. His body was made of living crystal that shifted from purple to silver with his mood. Right now it was dark with rage. "You have brought shame to our bloodline," the Emperor's voice echoed like breaking glass. "Our family has ruled for 10,000 years. We are pure. We are perfect. And you," he pointed a crystal finger at his daughter, "you chose to mate with a primitive human." The other council members made sounds of disgust. Lady Mystara, whose crystal body sparkled with jewels, laughed coldly. "Humans live barely 100 years. They cannot even touch minds like we do. They are animals who learn to use tools." "Tell us, child," said Lord Velnox, his crystal form shifting to deep red. "What magic did this human use on you? Did he drug you?" No Velkari princess would willingly join with such a lower life form. Zara lifted her head high. "His name is Marcus Chen. He is a captain in the human diplomatic corps. And I love him." The council erupted in shocked whispers. Love, such a human concept. Velkari made political matches, bred for stronger psychic abilities, for longer life. Love was considered a mental illness. Love. Her father stood from his throne, his 12-foot crystal body towering over everyone. "You speak of this human disease as if it matters. You have contaminated our bloodline. Our scientists say if you breed with this creature, your offspring will be neither human nor Velkari. They will be nothing." "Marcus is not a creature," Zara said firmly. "He saved my life when pirates attacked my ship. He could have left me, to die and claimed a reward from our government. Instead, he risked everything to protect me. He showed me kindness without wanting anything in return." Lady Mystara laughed again. "How refreshing. The human acted like a pet protecting its master." "He is braver than any of you," Zara shot back. "When did any of you risk your life for someone else? When did you show mercy to anyone weaker than you?" The temperature in the room dropped. Calling the High Council cowards was punishable by death. "Enough," the Emperor said. "You will divorce this human immediately. You will undergo mental cleansing to remove these infected thoughts. Then you will marry Prince Veltar and produce pureblood heirs. I will not." The words rang through the chamber like a bell. For a moment, nobody spoke. "You will not?" The Emperor's crystal body began to glow with power. "You forget yourself, child. I am your ruler and your father. You will obey. I am also a citizen of the Human Federation now," Zara said. "I married Marcus Chen in both human and Velkari ceremonies. Under Galactic law, you cannot force me to break my marriage." "Galactic law?" Lord Velnox laughed bitterly. "Child, we are the law. The Velkari Empire controls 40 star systems. We are the most powerful psychic species in the galaxy. The humans control 12 small worlds and consider themselves lucky when we let them trade with us." "Then why are you so afraid?" "Of my marriage?" Zara asked. "If humans are so weak, if they are really just animals, why does my love for one threaten you so much?" Another council member, Lord Zarel, spoke up. "Because others might follow your example. Already some of our younger citizens visit human worlds. They speak of human art, human music, human friendship. These concepts spread like poison. They speak of things we have forgotten," Zara said quietly. "When did we last create anything beautiful? When did we last help someone without expecting payment? When did we last feel joy?" "We feel the joy of power," her father said. "The joy of perfection, the joy of immortality. We live for 1,000 years while humans die like insects." "And what do we do with those 1,000 years?" Zara asked. "We sit in crystal cities, growing colder and more distant every century. We have forgotten how to live. We only know how to rule." The Emperor's patience finally broke. "You will be stripped of all titles. Your wealth is gone. Your lands are gone. Your place in this family is gone. You will be banished from all Velkari worlds forever. Further, Lady Mystara added with cruel pleasure, anyone who speaks your name will be imprisoned. Any ship that carries you will be destroyed. You are dead to us. One more thing, the Emperor said, his crystal form glowing brighter. When your human dies, and he will die soon, as all humans do, remember that you chose this. Remember that you could have lived forever in paradise, but you threw it away for a mayfly romance. Zara felt tears on her cheeks, another human trait her people considered disgusting. You think you are offering me paradise, she said. But I have seen real paradise. I have lived with someone who wakes up happy to see me each day. Someone who laughs with me, not at others. Someone who builds things instead of just taking them. She looked around the chamber one last time. You can take my titles. You can banish me. But you cannot take the love I carry. And that makes me richer than all of you combined. The council guard stepped forward to escort her out. As they walked toward the great doors, Lady Mystara called out one last insult. Enjoy your little romance, princess, no more. When your pet human leaves you for a proper female of his own species, remember that we offered you everything. Zara stopped at the threshold and looked back. If Marcus wanted proper, he would not have chosen me. He wanted real. And that is something you will never understand. The crystal doors slammed shut behind her, cutting her off from her old life forever. But as she walked toward the human transport waiting outside, Zara felt something she had never experienced in the crystal palaces of her youth. She felt free. Word count: 1,000. The human colony of New Geneva spread like a jewel across the green hills of Kepler 442b. Zara stood on the porch of their small wooden house, watching Marcus tend to their garden. 3 years had passed since her banishment, and she still marveled at how different human life was from what she had known. The tomatoes are doing well, Marcus said, wiping sweat from his forehead. His brown hair was getting gray at the temples, something that reminded Zara daily how short human lives were. Old Sam next door says we might get the best crop in the valley. Zara smiled. On Velkari, only slaves touched the soil. Royal food was grown by machines in sterile chambers. But here, Marcus took pride in growing their own vegetables. He had taught her to plant seeds, to water them, to watch them grow into something beautiful and useful. The neighbors invited us for dinner again tonight, she said, settling beside him on the garden steps. Mrs. Peterson is making her famous apple pie, the one that made you cry last time. Marcus grinned. I was not crying. My eyes were leaking. Sure they were. He kissed her forehead. You know, you've gotten really good at human expressions. When you first arrived, you barely moved your face. It was true. Velkari considered facial expressions primitive and uncontrolled. But living with Marcus had taught her the joy of smiling, the relief of laughter, even the cleansing power of tears. Maria's baby took his first steps yesterday, Zara said, changing the subject. She was so proud. On Velkari, babies are raised by specialists. Parents barely see them until they are old enough for education. That sounds lonely. Everything about Velkari life was lonely. She took his hand, still amazed that such simple touch could mean so much. We lived for centuries in crystal towers, connected by duty but not by love. We spoke mind to mind but never heart to heart. Marcus squeezed her hand. Well, you're stuck with us messy humans now. Stuck, Zara laughed. Is that what I am? Completely stuck, especially since... He paused, looking nervous. Zara felt it through their bond, not the invasive mind-reading of her people, but the gentle emotional connection they had built together. Since what? She asked. Since you're pregnant? The words hung in the air like music. Zara stared at him, then closed her eyes and reached inward with her psychic abilities. There, a tiny new life growing inside her. How had she not noticed? How? Did you know before I did? She whispered. You've been drinking orange juice every morning for 2 weeks. You hate orange juice, And yesterday you cried at that commercial with the baby ducks. Marcus grinned wider. Also, Dr. Chen, no relation, called this morning with your test results. Zara put her hand on her stomach. A baby, our baby. Are you happy? I am terrified. And yes, very happy. She looked up at him. Marcus, what if the baby has both human and Valkyrie traits? What if it has my psychic abilities but your short lifespan? What if... Hey. He put his finger to her lips. Remember what you taught me about Valkyrie psychology? You said your people think too much about possible futures and forget to live in the present. I did say that. So let's live in the present. Right now we're going to have a baby. Right now I love you more than anything in the universe. Right now our tomatoes are growing and our neighbors care about us and life is good. Zara felt tears. Happy tears this time. I love you too. Over the following months, the pregnancy proved challenging in ways no one expected. Human doctors had never treated a Valkyrie before, and Valkyrie medical knowledge was strictly forbidden to share with other species. But the human medical team adapted. Dr. Sandra Martinez led the team. She was a small woman with big eyes who worked 18-hour days studying Zara's physiology. Your crystal bone structure is fascinating, she told Zara during one visit. And the baby seems to be developing traits from both species. Look at this scan. On the screen, they could see tiny bones that glowed softly with inner light, a Valkyrie trait. But the bone structure was more flexible, more human. Is that normal? Marcus asked, holding Zara's hand. Nothing about this pregnancy is normal, Dr. Martinez admitted. But everything looks healthy. Your baby is writing her own rules. Her? Zara sat up sharply. Did I forget to mention it's a girl? Marcus and Zara looked at each other and burst into laughter. On Valkyrie, the sex of royal children was announced with great ceremony. Here, they learned from a slip of the tongue during a routine visit. The knee. Birth was difficult. Zara's body was trying to do something nature had never intended, but Marcus never left her side, and the human medical team worked miracles. When baby Elena finally arrived, she was perfect in ways no one had imagined. She had Zara's violet eyes but Marcus's determined jaw. Her skin had a faint purple tint that shifted to pink when she was happy. Most remarkably, she seemed aware of everything around her, watching faces with an intelligence that startled the nurses. She's beautiful, Marcus whispered, holding his daughter for the first time. She's impossible, Dr. Martinez said, smiling. Genetically, she shouldn't exist, but here she is. Zara held Elena against her chest, feeling a love deeper than anything she had imagined possible. She's ours. The baby gurgled and reached up with tiny fingers that glowed softly in the dim room. When she touched Zara's face, Zara felt something extraordinary, a gentle touch against her mind, not invasive like Valkyrie mental contact, but warm and welcoming. Did you feel that? She asked Marcus. Feel what? She touched my thoughts, but it felt like a hug. Elena looked up at both her parents and smiled, a real smile, not just gas like human babies usually showed. In that smile was joy, love, and something else. Hope. Outside their window, New Geneva sparkled under the stars. Somewhere out there, the Valkyrie Empire continued its cold rule over crystal worlds. But here, in a small wooden house where humans grew their own food and cared for their neighbors, something new had been born, something that would change everything. Word count, 1,000. Elena was 5 years old when she stopped her first war. She sat in the garden with her mother, making flower crowns. Her purple eyes sparkled with concentration as she wove daisies together. To most people, she looked like a normal human child, with unusual coloring. But those who watched closely saw the flowers bend toward her fingers before she touched them. Mama, Elena said, not looking up from her flowers. Why are the bad ships coming? Zara froze. What bad ships, little star? The red ones. They have angry people inside. They want to hurt our friends. Elena pointed toward the sky with a small, purple finger. They're very far away but coming fast. They think we can't see them. Zara looked up at the peaceful blue sky of New Geneva. She saw nothing. But Elena had shown unusual awareness before, always knowing when Marcus was coming home, sensing when neighbors were sick, even predicting storms before the weather satellites detected them. "Papa," Elena called suddenly. "Bad ships are coming." Marcus came running from the house, still wearing his diplomatic uniform. As the human colony security chief, he took all threats seriously. "What's wrong?" he asked. "Elena says ships are coming, red ones with angry people." Marcus looked skeptical until his comm device started beeping frantically. "Chief Chen," came the urgent voice of Lieutenant Torres. "We have incoming ships on long-range sensors. Unknown configuration. They'll be here in 6 hours." "How many?" Marcus asked, his face going serious. 15 vessels, heavy armed. "Sir, they're not responding to our peaceful contact attempts." Zara felt ice in her stomach. "Pirates," she whispered. They must have heard about the mining operation. New Geneva had recently discovered rare minerals that powered faster than light engines. Word had spread through the trading networks. The colony's peaceful nature made it an attractive target. "Elena, I need you to stay with Mama while Papa goes to work," Marcus said. "The bad people have big guns," Elena said calmly, "but they can't hurt friends." Over the next few hours, New Geneva prepared for battle. The colony had basic defensive shields and a small fleet of patrol ships, but nothing that could stand against 15 pirate vessels. Messages went out to nearby systems begging for help, but the closest military ships were days away. The colonists evacuated their children to underground shelters. "We should take Elena to the bunkers," Marcus said as he checked his weapons. "I want to stay with you and Papa," Elena said firmly. "Sweetheart, it's dangerous. The bad people can't hurt me," Elena interrupted. "But they might hurt you." Zara knelt beside her daughter. "What do you mean they can't hurt you?" Elena made a frustrated face, the way children do when adults don't understand simple things. "The angry thoughts bounce off me, like rain off an umbrella. But your thoughts are warm and stick together." Before anyone could ask what that meant, sirens began wailing. The pirates had arrived. From their house on the hill, they could see the fleet approaching, 15 dark ships that looked like metal sharks against the stars. The colony's small patrol vessels moved to intercept them, but everyone knew it was hopeless. The pirate leader's voice boomed across all communication channels. "People of New Geneva, surrender your mining operations and half your food supplies. We will take 50 of your young people as slaves. Resist and everyone dies." The colony council tried to negotiate, but the pirates had heard about Velkari crystal technology. They thought Zara's presence meant hidden treasures. The first shot shattered the peace. A pirate ship fired on the main town, its laser blast heading straight for the school where some children still sheltered. Elena stood up suddenly. No. The word wasn't loud, but it carried an impossible weight. The air around them began to shimmer. "Elena." Zara felt power radiating from her daughter like heat from a fire. "They hurt the scared children," Elena said, her purple eyes glowing brighter. "That's not nice." She raised her small hands toward the sky. What happened next defied physics. The pirate laser blast stopped in midair, suspended like a glowing red line. Then it bent, twisted, and redirected back at the ship that fired it. The pirate vessel's shields failed instantly. The redirected energy tore through their hull, sending the ship spinning away from the planet. "Elena!" Marcus shouted, but his daughter wasn't finished. She pointed at another pirate ship trying to land ground troops. The ship suddenly couldn't move, held in place by an invisible force. The pirates inside started screaming as their weapons stopped working, their systems failing one by one. "Elena, sweetheart, you need to stop," Zara said gently. "But they're still angry," Elena replied. "Still wanting to hurt people." She gestured again, and something impossible happened. All 15 pirate ships found themselves surrounded by glowing barriers, shields that couldn't be broken, couldn't be analyzed, couldn't be understood. The pirate leader's voice came over the radio again. But now it shook with fear. What is this? What kind of weapon do you have? Elena walked to Marcus's radio and spoke in her small, clear voice. I'm not a weapon. I'm Elena. And you tried to hurt my friends. Elena, Zara said urgently. Let them leave. Show them mercy. Elena considered this seriously. Mama, if I let them go, will they hurt other people? It was a surprisingly wise question from a 5-year-old. If you're afraid of them coming back, Marcus said slowly, maybe you could make sure they can't. Elena nodded. She pointed at the pirate ships again, and suddenly their weapons fell off, just fell away from the hulls like leaves from trees. Then their faster-than-light drives simply stopped working. You can go home now, Elena announced to the pirates, but you can't have big guns anymore, and if you try to hurt anyone, I'll know. The pirates needed no further encouragement. Their ships limped away at slower-than-light speed, leaving New Geneva in peace. As the last ship disappeared, Elena collapsed. Zara caught her, feeling how exhausted her daughter was. I'm sleepy, Mama, Elena mumbled. You did good, little star, Zara whispered, carrying her inside. But as they entered the house, Zara saw Marcus staring at his communication device, his face pale. What's wrong? She asked. Reports are coming in from all over the sector, he said quietly. Elena didn't just stop those 15 ships. Every pirate vessel within 50 light years just lost their weapons, at exactly the same time. Zara felt a chill. Her daughter's power was far greater than anyone had imagined, and somewhere in the galaxy people were already talking about the impossible child of New Geneva. Word was spreading through trade routes, through diplomatic channels, through the vast network of galactic communications. The hybrid child who shouldn't exist, the little girl who could stop fleets with a thought. Soon, those whispers would reach even the crystal halls of the Velkari Empire. Word count, 1,000. The crystal tower of Emperor Velthak shook for the first time in 1,000 years. Deep in the royal chambers, the most powerful Velkari in the empire sat around a glowing table that projected images from across the galaxy. The news was bad. Very bad. Another system lost, announced General Velmar, his crystal body flickering red with anger. The Devourers consumed the colony at Rigel 7. 2 million Velkari. Gone. How many systems now? Asked Lady Mystara, though she already knew the answer. 17, the general replied. In 6 months, we have lost 17 star systems to these creatures. The Devourers had appeared from nowhere, dark ships that seemed to eat light itself. They consumed entire planets, leaving nothing but empty space. Worst of all, Velkari psychic powers didn't work on them. Every mental attack simply passed through them like they weren't really there. Our greatest minds have studied the recordings, said Lord Velnox. The Devourers exist partially in another dimension. Our psychic abilities cannot touch them because they are not fully in our reality. Emperor Velthak stood slowly, his ancient crystal body creaking. What of our allies? What allies? General Velmar laughed bitterly. We have ruled through fear and superiority for centuries. The other species either hate us or fear us. None will help. The Zorathians refuse to answer our communications, Lady Mystara reported. The Antares Federation has closed their borders to us. Even the mining guilds won't trade with us anymore. And why should they? Lord Velnox asked. We called them inferior. We taxed their trade routes. We treated them like servants. The Emperor's crystal form darkened with rage. They dare ignore us in our time of need? Father, a younger council member spoke up. Prince Veltar had always been more practical than the elders. Perhaps it is time to consider alternative approaches, such as the reports from the Outer Rim about the incident at New Geneva. The council chamber fell silent. New Geneva, where the disgraced princess had fled with her human mate. You speak of the mongrel child, Lady Mystara said with disgust. I speak of the child who stopped 15 heavily armed ships without firing a shot. Prince Veltar replied. The child whose power reached across 50 light-years simultaneously. The child who did what our entire fleet cannot do, neutralize threats through pure psychic force. Lies and rumors, the Emperor growled. I have confirmed reports, the prince continued. The pirates' weapons simply fell off their ships. Their engines stopped working. One child did this. One hybrid child. General Velmar pulled up a holographic display. The reports are unusual, but consistent. Witnesses from 17 different ships confirm the same impossible events. It cannot be true, Lady Mystara insisted. A hybrid cannot be more powerful than pure Velkari blood. Pure Velkari. Blood is failing us, Prince Veltar pointed out. Our psychic abilities mean nothing against the Devourers. Perhaps purity is not strength. Perhaps it is weakness. The Emperor's crystal form cracked with fury. You suggest we are weak? I suggest we are dying, the prince replied calmly. And pride will not save us. Lord Velnox activated another display showing fleet movements. The Devourers are moving toward the core systems. At their current pace, they will reach the home worlds within a year. Our science division has made no progress, General Velmar admitted. Every weapon we design passes harmlessly through them. Every psychic attack fails. We are fighting an enemy we cannot touch. But the hybrid child touched them, Prince Veltar said quietly. What do you mean? The Emperor asked. 3 days ago, a Devourer scout ship approached the Kepler system, where New Geneva is located. It never arrived at the planet. Long-range sensors show it simply vanished. No explosion. No debris. Simply gone. The Council exchanged uneasy glances. Devourer ships had never been stopped before. Furthermore, the prince continued, we have intercepted human communications from the system. They speak of their guardian angel, the special child who protects them. A child, Lady Mystara said slowly. An 8-year-old child is doing what our entire military cannot? An 8-year-old hybrid child, Prince Veltar corrected. With Velkari psychic abilities enhanced by human, what do they call it? Adaptability. Emperor Velthak was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was smaller, older. What do you propose? We must contact the exiled princess. We must ask for help. I banished her, the Emperor roared. She chose a primitive human over her own people. And now her primitive human may be our only hope, Prince Veltar replied. The hybrid child represents something new, something our pure blood could not create. General Velmar spoke up reluctantly. There are other reports. Human colonies are forming alliances with species we consider inferior. The Antares Federation is working with the mining guilds. Even some of our own outer colonies are beginning to trade with humans. Impossible. Why would our people deal with such lesser beings? Because, Lord Velnox said quietly, the humans offer something we never did. Partnership instead of rule. Friendship instead of fear. The Emperor seemed to age before their eyes. How many ships do we have left? 12,000 in the home fleet, General Velmar reported. But they are useless against the Devourers. And how many humans? Their fleet is smaller, perhaps 3,000 ships total. But their technology adapts quickly. They learn from each encounter. And they have allies now. Real allies who fight beside them, not for them. Prince Veltar leaned forward. Father, we have two choices. We can maintain our pride and watch our empire fall. Or we can swallow that pride and ask for help from the daughter you banished. She will refuse, Lady Mystara said. Why would she help those who exiled her? Because, the prince said, she learned human values. And humans help others in need, even their enemies. The Emperor stared at the holographic displays showing the approaching Devourer fleet. System after system marked in red. Worlds consumed. People lost forever. Finally, he spoke in a voice that sounded centuries old. Send a message to To Admiral Zarathul of New Geneva. Inform her that the Velkari Empire requests her assistance against the Devourer threat. Admiral? Lady Mystara asked, confused. The humans made her an admiral in their space fleet, Prince Veltar explained. She commands both human and Velkari ships now. The bitter irony was not lost on anyone. The banished princess had found more honor among humans than she had ever received among her own people. And, the Emperor added with great difficulty, inform her that we are prepared to discuss equal partnership in any alliance against this threat. The words tasted like poison in his mouth. But poison was better than extinction. As the message was prepared and sent across the galaxy, the crystal walls of the tower shook again. In the distance, another Velkari world went dark, consumed by enemies that pure blood and ancient pride could not defeat. The mighty Velkari Empire, rulers of the galaxy for 10,000 years, had finally learned to ask for help. They could only hope it wasn't too late. Word count, $1,000. The combined fleet that entered Velkari space was unlike anything the Empire had ever seen. Human ships flew beside Velkari crystal vessels. Mining guild cargo haulers moved in formation with sleek diplomatic cruisers. Ships from a dozen different species formed a united armada under one command. At the center of the fleet flew the flagship Unity, a ship that was both human and Velkari design, its metal hull strengthened with living crystal. On the bridge stood Admiral Zarathul Chen, former princess of the Velkari Empire. She wore a uniform that combined human naval traditions with Velkari royal colors. Her violet skin had deepened with age, but her eyes held a confidence that had never existed in the crystal palaces of her youth. Admiral, reported Captain Sarah Mitchell from the communications station, the Velkari home fleet is hailing us. On screen, the image that appeared showed General Velmar, his crystal form flickering with nervous energy. Behind him, Zara could see the familiar crystal architecture of the Imperial War Room. Princess Admiral Zarathul, the general began awkwardly. The High Council is ready to receive you. Good, Zara replied simply. We have much to discuss. Your fleet is quite impressive. We count over 4,000 ships from multiple species. We call it the Galactic Defense Alliance, Zara said. When you fight together instead of ruling over others, you find many willing allies. The general looked uncomfortable. The council wishes to know about your child. The reports we've received. Elena is fine, Zara interrupted. She's eager to help protect innocent people from the devourers. That's what humans teach their children, to help others. Beside Zara stood Captain Marcus Chen, now a decorated admiral himself. His hair had gone completely gray, but his eyes still sparkled when he looked at his wife. Tell the council we'll meet at the command station in 2 hours, Marcus said diplomatically. All Alliance commanders will be present. Alliance commanders? The general asked. Did you think this was just a human fleet? Zara smiled. Admiral Tivara of the Antares Federation sends her regards. So does Commodore Zix of the Mining Guild Consortium. Even the Zorathian war fleet has joined us. The general's crystal form went pale. All of them. But they all refused our calls for help. They refused the Velkari Empire's demands for assistance, Zara corrected. They were happy to join an alliance of equals fighting for mutual defense. After the communication ended, Marcus put his hand on Zara's shoulder. You okay with going back there? I'm not the same person who left, Zara replied. I'm not going back as a banished princess begging for forgiveness. I'm going as an admiral protecting my people, all my people, human and Velkari. A small voice interrupted them. Mama, the sad crystals are getting happier. Elena stood in the doorway. Now, 8 years old but with the bearing of someone much older. Her mixed heritage was more pronounced now. Purple-tinted skin that shifted to pink when she smiled. Violet eyes that glowed softly when she used her abilities. Can you sense them from here, little star? Marcus asked, kneeling down to her level. There. Thoughts are very loud when they're scared, Elena nodded. The crystal people have been afraid for so long, but now they have hope. What about the dark ships? Zara asked. The Devourers were still advancing toward the core worlds. Elena's expression grew serious. They're hungry, but they eat the wrong things. They try to eat thoughts and feelings, but they only get the scared ones. They don't understand love. Before, anyone could ask what she meant. Alarms sounded throughout the ship. "Admiral," called Lieutenant Torres from the sensor station. "We have incoming Devourer ships, 3 of them approaching fast." "Battle stations," Zara ordered. The bridge became a flurry of activity. "Wait," Elena said calmly. She walked to the center of the bridge and closed her eyes. The main screen showed the approaching Devourer vessels, dark ships that seemed to bend light around them. They were massive, each one the size of a small moon. "Elena," Marcus said carefully, "these aren't pirates, these are much more dangerous." "I know, Papa." Elena opened her eyes, which now glowed brightly. "But they're still trying to eat happiness. And I have so much happiness to share." What happened next amazed even the seasoned crew of the Unity. Elena raised her hands, and suddenly the ship was surrounded by a warm, golden light. But this wasn't just light. It was emotion made visible. Joy, love, hope, friendship, all the feelings that made humans and their allies strong. The golden light spread from ship to ship throughout the entire fleet. Every vessel began to glow with the same warm radiance. When the Devourer ships reached the fleet, something unprecedented happened. The dark ships slowed, then stopped completely. They seemed confused, unable to approach the glowing vessels. "They can't feed," Elena said simply. "I'm giving them love instead of fear. They don't know what to do with love." One of the Devourer ships actually began to change. Its dark hull lightened, becoming almost translucent. Then it turned and fled, followed by the other 2. The bridge erupted in cheers, but Elena looked tired. "That took a lot of energy," she admitted. "Rest, sweetheart," Zara said, picking up her daughter. "You've done more than enough." 2 hours later, Zara stood in the crystal chamber where she had been banished years ago. But everything was different. Now, the High Council sat in their throne chairs, but they were no longer the proud rulers she remembered. Emperor Velthak looked ancient, his crystal form dim and cracked. Lady Mystera's jeweled body had lost much of its sparkle. Around the chamber stood representatives from dozens of species, humans, Antares Federation officers, mining guild captains, Zorathian warriors, and many others. "Daughter," the Emperor began, his voice barely a whisper. "Father," Zara replied, but her tone was formal, diplomatic. We were wrong," Lady Mystara said, the words clearly painful. "About humans, about your marriage, about your child. We know that now," Zara replied. "The question is, what do we do going forward?" Prince Veltar stepped forward. "The Devourer fleet numbers in the hundreds. They will be here within days. Our combined forces should be able to hold them off, but stopping them permanently will require something more," Marcus finished. "We need to understand why they're here, what they really want." Elena, who had been quietly standing beside her parents, suddenly spoke up. "They're lost." Everyone turned to look at the small girl who had just defeated 3 Devourer ships by shining love at them. "What do you mean, little star?" Zara asked. "They're from a place where everything is dark and sad," Elena explained. "They came here because they sensed all the thoughts and feelings, but they only know how to eat the bad feelings, fear, anger, hate. They don't know about the good ones." "So they're not evil?" Prince Veltar asked. "They're hungry," Elena said simply. "Like when you're so hungry, you might take food that isn't yours, even though you know it's wrong." Emperor Velthak leaned forward. "Child, can you teach them about good feelings?" Elena considered this seriously. "Maybe, but I'll need help. I'll need everyone to share their love and hope and friendship, all together." Zara looked around the room at the representatives of dozens of species. "That's what an alliance is for. We're stronger together than apart. Together, the Emperor repeated the word like he was learning a new language. Yes, together. For the first time in millennia, the word together was spoken in the crystal halls of the Velkari Empire with hope instead of command. The banished princess had returned not as a supplicant, but as a leader who had learned the greatest human secret that true strength comes from unity, not dominion. Word count $1,000. The Devourer mothership appeared at the edge of Velkari space like a wound in reality itself. It was enormous, larger than most moons, dark as the space between stars. Around it swarmed hundreds of smaller Devourer vessels. The combined fleet of the Galactic Defense Alliance spread out to meet them. Every species that had ever been bullied by the Velkari Empire now stood ready to defend the very worlds that had once ruled them. Elena, Zara said gently to her daughter, "Are you ready?" The 8-year-old girl nodded, but her violet eyes were sad. "They're so hungry, Mama, and they've been alone for so long." Elena had insisted on being on the bridge for the confrontation. She sat in a special chair Marcus had made for her, surrounded by translucent screens showing the energy patterns of every ship in both fleets. "Remember," Admiral Tavara of the Antares Federation said over the communications channel, "we're not trying to destroy them. We're trying to save them." "Easy to say," growled Admiral Krax of the Zorathian fleet. "But if they attack our civilians..." "They won't," Elena said confidently. "Not if we do this right." The Devourer fleet moved forward. Energy readings spiked as they prepared to feed on the fear and anger of the Alliance ships. All ships, Zara commanded, "Begin the Unity Protocol." What happened next had never been attempted in galactic history. Every ship in the Alliance fleet opened its communications channels. Every captain, every crew member, every passenger and passenger began to share. They shared memories of home, of families and friends, of hopes and dreams, of love in all its forms. The human ships broadcast laughter of children playing. The Velkari vessels shared the crystal songs of their homeworld. The mining guilds transmitted the satisfaction of honest work. The Antares Federation sent memories of first contact and friendship between species. Elena stood up in her chair, her small hands outstretched. The golden light that had appeared around the Unity before now spread throughout the entire fleet. But this time, it wasn't just Elena's power. It was everyone's emotions combined, amplified by her unique abilities. The Devourer ships stopped their advance. Some of them began to shake as if struggling with something they didn't understand. "It's working," whispered Prince Veltar from the bridge of the Velkari flagship. "They're responding." On the main screen, something incredible happened. The mothership's dark hull began to develop cracks of light. Through those cracks they could see movement. Not the mechanical motions of a ship, but something organic, alive. Elena closed her eyes and reached out with her mind, not to attack or control, but to understand. "Oh," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Oh, they're not ships at all." "What do you mean?" Marcus asked urgently. "They're alive. They're people. They've been trapped in darkness for so long they forgot how to feel anything but hunger." Elena's power grew brighter, fed by the love and hope of thousands of ships and millions of crew members. The light reached out across space and touched the mothership. The dark hull cracked completely open like an egg, revealing something beautiful. Inside, beings of pure energy, weakened and desperate but alive. A voice spoke across all channels, weak but filled with wonder. "Light, warmth. How long has it been?" "Too long," Elena replied, her young voice somehow carrying across the vast distance. "But you're not alone anymore." The Devourer beings began to emerge from their dark shells. They were magnificent, creatures of living light that pulsed with emotions they had almost forgotten existed. "We came seeking sustenance," their leader said, its voice like music. "We consumed fear and anger because it was all we could reach from our dying realm. We did not know there were other feelings." "There are so many," Elena said, smiling through her tears. "Let me show you." What followed was not a battle, but a healing. Elena, supported by every thinking being in the Alliance fleet, shared the full spectrum of emotion with the Devourer beings. Joy, love, friendship, hope, wonder, curiosity, compassion. The Devourer ships transformed, their dark hulls becoming translucent and beautiful. The beings inside grew brighter, stronger, more alive than they had been in eons. "We understand now," their leader said. "We were eating scraps when we could have shared a feast." "Stay with us," Elena offered. "Learn from us. Teach us about your realm. We're stronger together." The Emperor Velthak, watching from his throne room, felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries. Pride in his daughter that had nothing to do with bloodlines or power. In the months that followed, the galaxy changed. The Galactic Defense Alliance became the Galactic Unity Council. Zara was elected as the first multi-species leader, with Marcus as her equal partner. They established new laws based on cooperation rather than domination. The former Devourer beings, who revealed their true name as the Lumini, became valued members of the galactic community. They shared knowledge of other dimensions and helped establish contact with civilizations previously thought impossible to reach. The Velkhari Empire formally disbanded, its worlds voluntarily joining the new Democratic Confederation. Former Emperor Velthak became an advisor on historical matters, spending his remaining centuries learning about concepts like humility and friendship. Elena grew up attending schools on dozens of different worlds, learning from every species. She formed the first multi-species youth council, proving that the next generation understood unity better than their elders ever had. Lady Mystara, who had once mocked the idea of human Velkhari marriage, ended up marrying a human botanist and discovering the joy of growing things together. The mining guilds established fair trade agreements with all species. The Antares Federation opened cultural exchange programs. The Zorathians became peacekeepers, using their warrior skills to protect rather than conquer. Years later, when Elena was grown and had children of her own, a wonderful mix of human, Velkhari, and even some Lumini heritage, she stood on New Geneva watching her kids play with friends from across the galaxy. Marcus, now elderly but still energetic, sat beside her on the same garden steps where they'd first learned about love among the stars. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked. "Leaving the crystal palaces for this simple life?" Elena smiled, watching her smallest daughter create rainbows with a thought while playing with a young Zorathian child. "Papa, this isn't simple at all. This is the most complex, beautiful thing in the universe. A galaxy where everyone belongs." In the distance, ships from 100 worlds landed at the spaceport, bringing visitors, traders, students, and friends. Where once fear and hierarchy had ruled, now curiosity and cooperation flourished. The galaxy had learned the most important human lesson of all, that diversity isn't a weakness to be eliminated, but a strength to be celebrated. And at the center of it all was a little wooden house where a princess had once learned that love is the most powerful force in the universe. A lesson that had literally saved the stars. Word count, 1,000.